brilliant ideas, powered by Hyundai Motor.
My name is Martin Creed. Well, I just try to do different things in my life.
I'm understanding, I'm understanding, I'm understanding, I'm understanding.
Gosh, it's really difficult to describe Martin. He's slightly slippery.
Listening, I'm listening.
He's a poet of the everyday.
There's something quite childlike and playful in a lot of the work that he does.
You're pulling my leg, right? This is art?
For over 2 decades, Martin Creed has challenged ideas about what it means to be an artist, with works that force us to pause, reflect, and see the world through fresh eyes.
He's a musician. He's a performance artist, he's a sculptor, painter.
A lot of the time life's very hard, and doing some of these things, makes me feel better. If you feel okay, then I think one tries not to do anything, to stay okay. So I think usually the motivation for doing things is a bad feeling that one tries to get out of,
He doesn't present himself as an authority, he presents questions. His neuroses are shared with us in a very honest and frank way.
I remember some of these bags from years ago. Just been sorting them out. That's nice. So I approach it trying not to think about whether it would be called art or whether it would be called anything. It's not to do with that. It's just to do with trying to do things in my life, as I find it, to help myself. I want to make an announcement. I want to make an announcement.
He has this incredible drive to communicate and a yearning for understanding.
If you look at our work or listen to something, it's the way it makes you feel is what is important. Feelings are like a kind of weird, invisible enemy. Feelings don't have a shape or a distinct form. The ideal work would embody feelings strongly.
He's talked about this constant battle to be understood.
I think or feel, I don't know which is, because I don't know how to tell the difference, but I feel or think that feelings, rule my life much more than thoughts. Thoughts are used to deal with feelings and control them, or pretend that they're something they're not, or hide them. I feel like I'm a victim of my own feelings.
And I was saying I'm a victim, and you were saying I'm a victim.
Martin has been working with neon for some time. His latest piece overlooks Manhattan. At 25 feet tall, it's one of his largest works. But despite its commanding scale, inspiration came from a very personal place.
When I met my stepdaughter, she was 7. I never knew if I should hug her or not. So we kind of developed this way to say goodbye. It's based on that kind of hippie thing, peace, love and understanding. We used the peace symbol, but done by 2 hands, making it, and then 2 hands making the love heart. Understanding, the symbol for that was like...
Understanding, I'm understanding, I'm understanding.
I think that peace is not necessarily attainable. I think that conflict is part of life. And then love also is an ideal. I feel like it's unrealistic to be expected to love people who you don't necessarily even like. But understanding, I think, is achievable, and it's possible to try to understand people. So that work is, it's to do with trying to communicate, with my stepdaughter originally. But it's kind of now for me, it's also to do with, the state of the world and the stupid wars, and the fact that it obviously all comes down to understanding,
Born in Wakefield, England in 1968, Creed grew up in Scotland, where his father worked as a silversmith and lectured at Glasgow School of Art.
Just grew up getting taught that art and music were the highest ideals to strive for. I'm probably trying to impress my parents. When I was trying to decide what to study at university, and I was really interested in like doing literature and psychology and also music as well. But I decided in the end to go to art school partly because I thought that you could do all those other things, you know, and that did turn out to be true. It was the one field where you didn't have to decide what you were going to do, you know.
Creed came to the attention of the wider public in 2001 when he won the Turner Prize with a work that consisted simply of turning the lights on and off.
Doing the Turner Prize really freaked me out because I'm very competitive. I felt this great pressure about the prize, and I thought there's nothing I can put in that room that I believe in enough for it to be good enough. Like, you know, in a way, it's like a failure. I can't do it. I don't know what to do. So all I can do is try to use the room as a thing, you know. And so this little, like, theatrical little thing with the lights going on and off, that ended up the work.
He's really wanting people to think about, you know, what it's like to be in an art gallery. Turning the lights on and off is actually about looking. It's what we're supposed to do with art. We're supposed to look at it and think about it.
It's a work about this horrible state of ambivalence. Is it better with the lights on? Well, maybe it's better with the lights off. You get this sense of someone who can't make up their mind.
When I was a kid, I used to love, you know, just switching the lights on and off. You know, like when my mum was in the toilet and, you know, the lights on the outside of the room, just kind of like switching on and off, you know, and they're like, "Hey, stop it," you know, just to annoy people. I just remembered that, so I would say that might be the true motivation for that.
Of course, caused a scandal and people were outraged. British tabloids had a field day.
It was one of those key moments, along with Carl Andre's bricks and Damien's shark, when people in the pub on a Friday and Saturday night were talking about art.
And I like the controversy it incites, and of course it's going to make people angry because it's not painting or art as we know it. Doesn't mean that turning a light on and off is art either, but it's just kind of creating a question mark around what art is.
So looking back on it, I was like trying to be naughty a bit, you know, and so in a way, if you think about that, it's no surprise that room where you're switching the lights on and off, and they're going, "Ah, stop it, stop it." I definitely thought I should win. I feel a bit guilty for saying that.
For all the controversy, in the intervening years, Creed has gone from being an enfant terrible to something of a national treasure.
He has actually become a very much loved artist in Britain, so much so that for the London Olympics, he got a whole nation to participate in a kind of conceptual artwork.
It was a very joyous, celebratory moment, but done in a very simple, low-tech, honest way, which I think was very true to Martin's approach, but also very true to the Britishness of it, slightly hokey.
The idea of trying to persuade people to do something, like ring bells at a certain time, is against my, you know, my inclination. You know, I don't think, because I just think, well, why should they? You know, like, why, you know, I'd much prefer to have been able to pay thousands of people to ring all the bells in Britain. You know, I've got my own stupid worries. I felt like cynical. But, you know, it's when I saw the people ringing the bells and that, I just thought it was brilliant.
With projects like these, Creed's work, though often polarising, has begun a chapter where audience involvement, from bells to balloons, has become a key part of his vision. Turner Prize-winning artist Martin Creed is known for his sculptural interventions and room-sized installations. Often disarmingly simple, they help us see the everyday through a new lens.
And a lot of Martin's work, I think, you can't really experience in a book or on a website.
One of Creed's best-known works is Half the Air in a Given Space, which has been delighting and disturbing audiences around the world since 1998, most recently at New York's Park Avenue Armory.
There's air everywhere, so if I could find a way of making air visible, that would be great, because air always occupies it always takes on the shape of the room, and it takes on also the space between people. I just thought if I buy regular balloons, that'd just be a way of packaging the air, making it visible. It's done with half the air, so as to leave space for people.
There's something about balloons in general, they pop. They can be scary as well as fun. Some people actually find it quite anxiety-inducing. You kind of have to be there for it.
They feel that they're part of the work itself, which is very much what Martin's hoping for.
In May 2016, Creed embarked on a residency at art dealership Hauser & Wirth's Durslade Farm in Somerset, England. As well as creating work on his own and with a team of assistants, Creed again engineered public involvement in action painting sessions.
So the paintings that were made as a collaboration are a classic example of that, where it would have been a moment of people coming together and creating this work based on a series of rules that Martin had laid out for them all to join in together to create this piece.
You just take a loaded brush and then just do a stroke, basically of any kind of stroke you want, really.
And in all those works, on some level, he's playing with the role of the artist as someone who's supposed to be making informed aesthetic decisions and choices. And he's looking, kind of playfully at that and refusing to take on that role of I'm the person who knows how to make the brushstroke of a genius.
Alongside the collaborative action paintings, the 2016 show, entitled What You Find, includes sculptures created from objects Creed has collected over the years and brought to the gallery before deciding what to do with them.
The approach that I've been trying to take with this show is really more an approach that comes more from doing music. So for me, doing shows in galleries is like doing a live gig, or I try to approach it that way. And like in a live gig where you just have to make the best of the situation, even though it's hot and there's lights in your face, or it's whatever it is, and you've got a headache, or you feel sick or tired, you have to do it, A lot of the things have come from my flat, where I was like, some of them are just like piles of things I had in the corner, or things I kept. Because I feel like if you keep something, then that's like a sign that it must be important to you. So this is something I kept, this bunch of flowers. She's got like a top of a water bottle in it.
The things are the things, that's what they are, that's what they represent. They get meaning by being put into the space. They don't have an associated meaning that Martin's putting onto them.
You don't have to filter through lots of levels or cultural references. I mean, it is what it is.
Well, I just keep hair. My hair, when I cut it. I remember when I was a teenager, my hair started going curly, and I didn't really like it, And I think that hair is a brilliant example of like what comes out. It's like what comes out of you. You have to accept your hair, or not accept it, cut it off.
The hair became a sculpture, so there was a little pile of his hair that had been collected, which personally I wouldn't want in my house, but I like the idea of.
Left. That's the direction that love is in, the direction that love is in.
There's almost a Martin Creed formula, which is to take everything that exists of one kind and put it into one piece.
It's a tapestry handmade in England. The colours weren't chosen because it's the full range of natural, not artificial, but natural colours. So that's why it's a weird spectrum, because it's just natural plant colours.
That's the direction that love is in.
He's clearly a serial artist, and it's about organising things into groups, be it going from large to small or the full range of colours. But it's also an order that borders on the chaos and disorder, and I think he loves that tension.
Things you buy in your life, that's what you do. Just like if you decide, to put red on one side of a painting and green on the other, it's the same thing. I often feel like you can't distinguish between, you know, buying a pair of trousers, you know, doing a painting. It's the same work. I only learned to drive, it was only about 6 or 7 years ago. And so then I was really into driving everywhere. And I had the Panda. And then I bought another car, because these kind of Fiats are quite cheap, actually. And then just one thing led to another.
The 3 cars I thought were quite hilarious, that he'd just taken his own collection of cars and made them into an artwork.
The red, green and blue was not like, I just thought it was a beautiful, kind of like a painting or something, you know.
I was almost tempted to buy one of them, but apparently I had to buy 3, and I really don't need 3 cars.
This was not really thought through very much. I brought all these things here, the bags, the stuff from the flat, the broken chairs, the cars, and I'm trying to figure out how to use them. I don't throw plastic bags away. My mum and dad always used to keep them as well when I was growing up. And I've been trying to work out how to make something out of them for years, actually. But it was only when I came here and I saw this tree I thought that if I just hang them in a tree, you know, it'd be beautiful, it'd be nice. You could look at them, see the nice colours.
One of the things I admire about Martin's work is it's not commercially driven. He's not an artist whose main concern is sort of creating very valuable objects that will enter collections and be sold for huge amounts at auction.
Plastic bags often are in trees, so it's quite a normal thing as well. But this is just the first 5 now, but there's going to be probably about 50.
It's almost his way of sort of negotiating the daily activities that we all have to go through, even if they become elevated to artistic status. They're there to make us question what art is, you know, in the way that the lights on and the lights off had everyone talking about, you know, what's art. I could have made that. It's a good conversation to have, and we have it on a regular basis because of artists like Martin Creed.
This is one of the videos you can see through there, which has got kind of stripes as well, a bit like the wall.
Video is another important part of Creed's work and has a prominent place in his Somerset exhibition.
I've just been, in the last year, thinking a lot that, you know, as the world goes just, you know, down the tubes, I feel kind of weird about doing stuff in my, you know, cosseted world in art galleries, and I've just been thinking and feeling bad about that, you know, basically. And so these works is like, you know, trying to do something that's not just a load of kind of self-interested kind of work in a gallery.
It's a border control, it's a border control.
He took the word border control in a song, and then he kept reducing it. So he'd sing border control over and over again, and then he'd sing border con, and then he'd sing border, and then board. And then he'd taken images that I think he found online of security checks and the different things that happen around immigration. And it was a really poignant observation on the moment we live in.
I hate borders. The problem with country borders is exactly the same as the problem of doing a drawing on a piece of paper. That any kind of lines you draw in the world are artificial and basically against human life, which doesn't go by borders. You know, it's in the heart.
You know, I think it's very much an art for this moment, and that may be its most important time.
British artist Martin Creed works in every imaginable genre. He's famous for his irreverence in installations, painting and video, but he's also a musician.
The things I work on are like a little bit of life exaggerated or amplified in one particular medium.
For his latest album, Creed created a series of music videos, some of which feature actor Lily Cole.
Randomly, he got in touch with me to ask if I would contribute to this video he was making. He told me that I would have to have food in my mouth and open my mouth, and that was more or less it. I picked out on the day an orange because there was a bowl of oranges there, and I think it was also a quick way of me making sure I didn't get something grosser. It's got Princess Taxi Girl playing over it, and then that's subverted when all these women open their mouths and have a mouthful of food, which is kind of the opposite and slightly grotesque.
She's enigmatic. She's not.
Well, I got married last year, and then he also made a few songs for me as a surprise gift. And one of them was Taxi Girl, and that was just like a perfect song, because it just described, everything about me, who's lazy to walk. So every time we go on a tour, I'm the only one who refused to walk back to hotel after the gig.
She's a taxi girl.
As well as releasing music on his record label, Telephone Records, Creed regularly plays live gigs with his band.
Often when I'm working on paintings or visual works, I often think of trying to make work that's more like music. I think that's why sometimes I feel like when I see something with stripes or something, it makes me feel good. It can be very comforting, the kind of repetition. I think music, sort of the beat, can make you feel good.
I wish I didn't know things. It does my head in. It does my head in.
Repetition is really an important part of his work. His lyrics are often really repetitive.
Everything is moving. Everything is moving.
His music is very irritating, I find. Atonal, there to make you uncomfortable with its pauses, with its repetition of words.
If you're feeling bad and your thoughts are sad, pass them on to someone else.
Every time you repeat a line, say in a song, it means something slightly different because of what's gone before. Just how many times you repeat it, it starts to change its meaning.
Pass them on. Pass your
I feel like I have to do shows because otherwise it just feels delusional. Otherwise, like I'm just on my own in my little bubble world, So doing things outside and is, doing things in the world with other people, whether it's like this or an exhibition. I feel like that's the only way I find it, because I feel like if I'm left to my own devices on my own, then it's just go off on one.
It's just like wonderful to work with Martin because, he strips out all these unnecessary things and, he concise, what he wants to say, and still really emotional.
It's very hard to describe, I think. It's a mixture of punk, country, and bits of experimental things.
She's not a stalker, and she's not a talker, and she's definitely...
Everything he makes is so sincere and just makes sense for me.
She's a woman.
He's not being limited by the confines of what's normal or expected, and why should he be?
He's an emotional artist. It's about sort of saying hello.
I want to feel better, and that's why I do things in my life,
If I do mind.
I just want to be a child, and play around in my playpen,
Brilliant ideas, powered by Hyundai Motor.